Welcome back to the Chat Shit Get Cancelled podcast. Today we have my guest, Sylvester Sweeney. He's a personal trainer from Glasgow. So I want to get straight into this. You asked me, first of all, you called him David Wheeler.
I didn't even know his name.
Dan Wheeler.
It was the first time that I'd actually came across him was the other day.
What actually happened? Did you comment on his video?
Yes, so I commented on his video. It was something about 1,600 calories.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's far too low. And I just said, that's a wee bit misleading.
Yeah.
Mate. And then I thought he would just respond with a message. He responded with a video and basically said something about he gets better results than me, he does this, he does that. And I'm like, this was a bit uncalled for. So then I obviously responded, and I don't do stuff like that. Like,
yeah, I've never seen you do anything like that ever.
So I definitely got triggered. But recently, like,
you got well triggered at the end. You were like, "Don't start this battle with me, mate," or something. You're like, "You'll get fucking."
I'll destroy you. Look, my wife actually said, like, "What the fuck have you just done?"
I was buckling at it, mate. See, because you were like quite calm at the end. You're like, "I'll fucking destroy you," and I was like, I was fucking pissing myself in my room, man.
But basically, from there, it just kind of. But like, everyone obviously stuck up for me.
Yeah,
and nobody even knows who I am.
So he's been about like for ages since when I started it. He got really big, and he's literally a psychopath. So I've never spoke about it ever either, because I just was like, nah, I'm not touching that. So like, you seen like Luke Hanna and stuff.
Yeah,
he probably started TikTok around the same time as me, and like all of them have all had run-ins with him. Like Luke Hanna went live one time.
I seen a clip of that,
and
there's like a full page devoted to like hating him.
Yeah.
And I've seen like, stuff like that.
And Luke Hanna went live with him, and he's like a nutritionist. He's doing a master's and all that, and he's like really into his studies and stuff. So all of his content is like
I
a
asked
study.
him to be on my podcast.
He'd be good at it, to be honest. And he had a live with him, and instead of like backing up why he says anything, he was just like, "I want to box you. I'm going to find out where you live," and all that. That he was just threatening to punch him. I want to show you this video, right? Because this is the video that I first discovered of him. I'll just get you to click on the link to see that top link. Just click on it and then play just so that audio listeners can hear it as well. Click the top one, just play it so you can hear it in the mic as well. But actually watch it.
No female adult should be on less than 1,600 calories for fat loss, for maintenance, for health, for any reason. They should never be on less than 1,600 calories.
Look at how many likes it has.
Now here we have the lovely Millie Bob Brown. She's 17 years old, as you can see here. She is 47 kilos in body weight, and she is 163 centimeters height tall. And as you can see, she's super tiny petite, and she obviously doesn't need to lose any body fat. So how many calories does Millie Bob Brown require just to maintain her tiny petite physique? And when we put her data in the basal metabolic rate calculator, the equation, looking at about a maintenance calories, you can see that she requires 2,300 and call it 20 calories, right? So this is someone who's teeny tiny petite, just to maintain needs 2,300 calories. If you're an overweight woman or an obese woman, you need way more than that. Way more. No female.
He's not even asked her how many steps, how like active she is or anything like that. It doesn't, to me, like I actually didn't, because I think we spoke about this on camera yet, did we?
No.
Like, whenever I commented on his thing, I did not expect, like, what happened, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I just commented, like, saying that was the 1,600 it was a similar video to that. And I was like, this is a wee bit misleading. And after that, it just fucking erupted.
That video got millions of views, like millions. And see, for honestly about 2 months, like he must have convinced, I reckon, because that was during lockdown, right? So all videos were like that were banging, like absolutely banging. And I reckon he must have convinced like a good million people not to eat less than like 1,600 calories.
Yeah, because he's like, I went on his profile, and I think because he does so many videos, like not a lot of his videos,
most of them do shit,
get like very, very many views. And I'm like, how's he got like 250,000 followers?
Probably one of them will be that video. Like I bet you that video got him like 100,000. But like the way like just goes about it as if that you can't eat less than 1,600 calories is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Would you box him?
Would I box him? What? And
Because you do boxing, don't you?
Yeah, I boxed for years. I've boxed since the age of like what? Started at the grip house in here.
Right.
And then my box.
Is that why you said you'll destroy him?
Yeah, I would. My boxing coach was Craig Doherty. who's like an ex-Commonwealth boxer, and then I went to box for the uni as well, Scottish Championships for that, and then came back here and done a bit of Thai boxing and stuff. So I know I would actually
So
destroy.
if we set up a charity boxing match for you and Dan Wheeler, you'd do it.
100%.
Well, what were all the profiles and all that were commenting? Was it like the troll ones? Did you get any of that? So Dan Wheeler's, this is why it's funny that I'm like going into it, because he stitched my videos like twice, but not like slagging me, asking me to collab with him. And I'm like, I'd rather fucking shoot myself. Like, absolutely not. And when he does that, I get like 100 Dan Wheeler fake accounts following me.
Yeah.
That are just like in italics, and it's just like, you've been wheelered and all this.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of scandals with him. Like, he doesn't put, he's apparently on Company House. He like claims he earns the same amount every year, and like apparently I think he had a job, and there's loads of allegations about him like obviously being a bit dodgy and shit.
Well,
so I think there's all
he
sorts.
charges £25 a month.
But I think that it's just a big group. It's just like a big Facebook group, I think. So he's not actually coaching you. Like, you'll never talk to him, I don't think, until you ask him for a refund, and he'll say no. That's it, pretty much. Absolutely nuts, mate. Like, I just wanted to see your reaction about it.
No, I think that the whole thing was I actually, like, I think I'd maybe seen one of these videos previously, and I'd kind of just scrolled past it, so I didn't really know who he was. And then when I went on his profile, I seen just all these videos, and I was like, he must be just one of those people who just like literally just posts and posts, and has had a few kind of viral videos. But then obviously when you kind of delve a bit deeper and you see kind of different things that he's doing, I'm like, he's actually does have people follow. I thought potentially he's just had a few viral videos and no one actually really listens to what he says, because a lot of these videos don't get loads of views, but it's because he does so many of them. But like, he's actually convinced loads of people. Like, I've actually had messages, I can't obviously say who or anything like that because confidentiality reasons, but the Instagram DMs that I had off the back of that video, response that I done about people saying that like they'd completely like ruined their relationship with food, or they'd heightened it. They went from being anorexic to like, obviously like anorexia isn't something that you can cure, but he said he could cure it and all this sort of stuff. So it's definitely something that I feel like he does need to be called out. I'm not really the type of person
I'm not even calling
him
about doing this. I just wanted to have a chat about it. And like, I'm not even going at like really saying his name's like he needs to stop and all that. I just genuinely wanted to see how you reacted to it.
To be fair,
and because if you hadn't have done that video recently, I wouldn't have said anything, but I was honestly buckled. I was laughing so much that I'll fucking destroy you. But
yeah, I get a bit passionate. I definitely when I showed it to Kirsten, she just rolled her eyes. She was like, what have you just done? And then I felt a wee bit like, what have I just done? Why have I just like done that? Like, because like obviously you've kind of seen my content for a while, and I've never really.
It's usually you making pancakes.
Aye, exactly. I've never really done that, so definitely was a wee bit out of character or whatever. But I don't know, it's done now.
Oh, it was hilarious. But we'll clear that up. But that was fucking funny, man. Like, I think you should do more of that. I think you should go out right now after this podcast and just slaughter them. Just get the boxing gloves out and just call them out.
I feel like, see, even just like dealing with a lot of the kind of negativity and trolls and stuff like that, it takes up a lot of energy. Like, I think for me, like, I need to be protective of like my energy, and I feel like I sound like Conor McGregor. You know, I was like, I wasn't efficient with my energy, but it's true. Like, because you read all this stuff and you can get in like a loophole or like a black hole, and you end up like in amongst it and arguing with people or whatever. But I think the one thing is, like, you can't argue with an idiot. So like, when you go through his stuff, regardless of whether I know I'm right,
he's never going
to accept it. So like, there's almost it's like talking to a brick wall. Like, that's pointless.
That's what Luke Hanna said when he went live on him. It was literally like, he just wouldn't even listen to what you were saying. He was just like, I will fight you. Are you finding it difficult then? Because you see you're posting more on social media. Do you find it difficult to like manage your time whilst doing that? Because I think some people don't realise it's like two completely different ways of going about things.
Well, I didn't really know much about social media in terms of like TikTok or anything like that. I was posting on TikTok for a while, but just to know how you can hold it in.
Yeah.
And stuff, and then it let go, and then I don't need to go onto a video editing app and edit it. Yeah. So I used to post on TikTok so that then I could post that video on my Instagram stories.
Really?
And then I end up, I think I've gained like maybe 3 or 4 or 5,000 followers or something like that without like trying. Like that's how I made my. But some of them went viral or whatever. And then literally in the last 3 weeks, I've actually tried. And I think I've went from like 6,500 followers to like nearly 12,000 followers now, and that's in like 3 weeks.
TikTok's still there. Like I still try to tell people, I'm like, if your business is failing, just go on TikTok and learn how to do it.
It's mental because I don't know how to do it, but then I've got a TikTok mentor now.
Right.
You probably know him, Sean. And basically just kind of, I don't know, spoke to him about it, and then like the simple stuff that he said, I'm like, that works.
It's literally like the first 5 seconds, make sure you capture their attention.
Yeah.
Like that's the main one that you need to think about.
Yeah.
And then also help them within the video. And then that's it. Just keep posting.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think it's just, you can have the odd like thing that's like a community builder as well. So like obviously before I hadn't really posted much of me speaking.
Yeah.
But like I've been replying to comments and stuff like that now as well. And then I think obviously then people are like off the bat.
What's your goal with TikTok? Like why have you got like a mentor and stuff? Because you had a successful personal training business anyway.
Yeah, so basically went to capacity with like 1-to-1, and I know that basically I have like a new thing. I've actually not officially launched it. I've got people on it, but people just signed up from TikTok. I don't even know. Really? I got a call with them this week. I don't even know who they are. It's mental. Whereas before I'd go through such a process because like it is quite expensive to sign up with me 1-to-1. But I go through like a process of like going, they message me or a conversation started, and then all of a sudden figuring out where they're at. I'll send them a few voice messages back and forth. It might even take like a week, 2 weeks before they get on a call. We'll get on a call. The call will be like an hour, and then I'll speak to them then about like, right, okay, where are things at? This is the investment. Maybe 50% of people sign up, 50% don't. But again, that just took up so much energy to actually do that. And then when I hit kind of capacity for 1-to-1, don't get me wrong, I could trickle people in, but it wasn't like scalable the same way. So if I want to scale my business at all without kind of having the service go down, but it's not 1-to-1 anymore.
You just physically can't take one-on-one clients on.
So that's why I came to hybrid, and hybrids obviously there's no like 6 month contract or anything like that. It's like a month to month. People can come in. Like the goal is obviously to stay, but they kind of have to extract the value more than the onus be on me to like be. You're never really responsible for someone. You're responsible to them to give them like what they need. If they choose not to do it you can't do anything. Something I have to kind of come to terms with.
But you can't just see if someone's not doing something. You can't just be like, oh, you can't just message them again, because it just doesn't work, does it?
Yeah.
Like you have to catch them at the start and be like, you have to realize this is like, you have to do it. I think a lot of people don't realize that when choosing a personal trainer, do they? They're just like, oh, this personal trainer gets great results, I'm going to go with him. It's like, yeah, but you still need to do it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's like everyone's looking, all the PTs and stuff are looking for like the perfect system and stuff like that. But like I've got a lot of systems now where I've got a guy I pay monthly for like automations, and automations being like, for instance, like just like email stuff. So like if I have like a green and amber red check-in system, so then it'll go from like when they fill in the check-in form, it then is correlated to green, amber and red. And then I can then look at the clients who are green, amber and red on the Trello board and look at and kind of then strategize like who I'm going to deal with first at the start of the week and who I maybe need to jump on a call with or whatever it may be. But I feel as if everyone's looking for those things help. But see, when you're first starting out, or even just like with 20 or 30 clients, like a lot of it, if you've got a decent system just to figure out where roughly people are at, just having conversations with people is what they need. They need a human. They don't need systems.
They don't even need, see if they've had a session and all that, they don't even really need you to go into too much detail. You just need to keep talking to them or like answering any of their questions. I don't think you need to go, you don't need to be this Mr. Motivator, I don't think either. You just need to make sure they know. It's even if they've had their session, you're just like, right, did any of it go up? And like, have you got any form videos, send them over and stuff like that. It's just like keeping them accountable sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a big thing for me, like my kind of demographic is people that, there's two types of people. Business owners and parents is predominantly who I train, basically because they like go from potentially having been in shape before, or they could put themselves first, but now they put either their business or their child first. And then as a result, then they start to feel shit, and then that's like a knock-on effect to either their kid or their business. So there's a lot of like psychological elements to that that aren't just here's your macros.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? So it's, for me, it's a lot more like treat everyone completely different, because like there's some clients I'm almost surprised that when they come on, I'm giving them all this mindset stuff, and then all of a sudden they're just like doing the stuff they need to do, and I'm almost shocked that they're actually doing what I tell them to do.
Yeah.
And then within literally 90 days, they get an amazing
Some
result.
clients, you honestly don't need really say anything. Like, they just needed a program, they needed to check in, and they needed someone to be there, and they just go and do it. And they get like mental transformations, and you're just like, how the fuck has that happened? Like, it happens quite a lot. I'd say like maybe like 5 and like 30 clients or whatever are just unbelievable. And you take all the credit for it, but you're like, really, they just went.
I mean, like the stuff works. You put someone in a high protein calorie deficit and add in some resistance training and enough movement, they're going to get the result.
Especially if they've never done it before. What I want to talk about is more about you as well. Like, so going through, like I said, I scrolled through your full Instagram for like an hour and a half. I scrolled through when you first launched your gym, scrolled through like you seem to have went through loads of different physiques as well. You seem like, so what do you think's like been the biggest struggle for you, like just growing your business? And like, you seem as to have chopped and changed a lot from like growing a gym, and then that seemed to be your full thing, and then you went to online, and now you're pushing that again. Like, what's been like your biggest struggle? And then, because a few of the posts I'm pretty sure were like, you always bang on about how you think Instagram's like a highlight reel and stuff. Like, what have you struggled with being a personal trainer? Because I think it's a difficult job. I think a lot of people don't talk about that as well.
I think, see, whenever you pass, you don't actually have a roadmap or a route of like actually running a business. Hence why I've now had like several business mentors, and I think that's really elevated me. I basically built up a gym to full capacity without any of that, but it was I'm not going to lie, like it might have seemed on Instagram
that's what I want to hear about. Like, what was that like?
No, like so I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I got the opportunity of opening the gym because all the equipment was there.
And where did the decision come from? Because you were PTing before that.
I wasn't PTing before. I wasn't even a PT before I opened the gym. No, this is what a lot of people don't know. Is I was doing a master's degree in product design. That's why I like do all the kind of like graphics and all that sort of stuff. I was doing a master's degree in product design. Like, was actually like depressed, suicidal, hated my life, and
during the degree,
during that master's degree, I was up in Dundee. Yeah, I was going to.
Is that why you hated your life?
Yeah, pretty much. No, probably do an ex-girlfriend as well. But basically, it was a really just bad time of my life. And then when I came home, I told mum and dad about like where I was at and like where my headspace was at and stuff like that. And obviously, them being your mum and dad, they just want to kind of keep you safe.
Yeah.
So like, we'll take you out of like the master's degree or whatever. And then basically, there was an opportunity where there was like a unit in Pollokshaws that my uncle owned, and it was a gym. So I can't remember what it was called, City Gym or something like that. And I had a bunch of bodybuilding kit in it. It was like an old school spit and sawdust gym. And then he was like, "Here's the keys. I'm going away for 2 months to figure out what I need to do with this," because I think the guy owed him money.
Right.
So that's why all the kit was there. And when I was training in it for 2 weeks, because I went to the gym because I was always dead into that. And I trained in that for a couple of weeks, and I was like, do you know what?
Just by yourself?
Just
like
by,
no one in there?
Just by myself. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to like, it just kind of, I don't know, like I was training in it one day and I just remember thinking, I'm going to open this. And I had some money kind of saved up.
How old were you?
22.
That's a bold move at 22.
22. So I had money saved up for a flat that was going to, so then instead I just moved back into mum and dad. I actually claimed half the money back from the master's degree as well.
Did you?
So I managed to get a bit from that. But basically, just because all the equipment was there, it was an opportunity that was never going to arise again.
Yeah.
So
it's not like if I went to do it now, like I would have to
shell out thousands and thousands of pounds. Don't get me wrong, still spent a fair bit on it, but it was still it was more possible then, if you know what I mean, because all the equipment was there, so it was just making it look good. So opened it, had no idea of what I was going to do. I remember speaking to my dad about it, and he was like, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to call it?
I'm just going to open my gym. Just go for it.
And I used to have people coming in like in the middle of like classes and stuff, and then have to like go upstairs because I had it as people open. Like I had people coming in while like it wasn't a big enough gym. It was over 2 floors, but
Right.
it wasn't big enough for like people.
Did you have any at the start? Did you have anyone working for you?
No,
Just you. So
it was
you
just
would be
me.
doing classes and signing people up at the same time,
Yeah,
and all that, just running about like a madman.
Everything, and then I was always dead into like doing like videos and stuff, and I think when Facebook organic was really big, I gained like probably the majority of my Facebook following in literally about 3 months or something, and that was because of like a few videos that I was doing and stuff, probably as a result of the Masters. But then basically had no idea what I was doing. Eventually it went from boxing classes to other things.
When did you get the PT qualification?
While I was painting the gym, just doing it at the same time.
So were you PTing people in this gym?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, just 1-to-1 PT. It was like just like family and friends that everyone starts, and then all of a sudden then went on to do classes as it started to get busier and stuff. Then eventually started to get PTs in. I had so many, I think I've probably had about 30 PTs through that door.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of them burned me as well.
What was that like as well? Like dealing with personal trainers coming in that you didn't really know, and the turnover rate with PTs is ridiculous as well.
Again, now I was speaking about energy, drained my energy massively. Like, it's like you start to like question yourself as well. Like, because I had a fair few PTs like open up. There was like a couple open up across the road, a couple open up round the corner, trying to take clients and stuff like that. But
by trying to take clients, what would that actually involve? Like actually just messaging them, or?
Well, yeah, that, and as well as because I basically, long story short, as the business started doing better, even though I was all over the place, I went to a point where I was actually going on holiday every like 3 weeks. And I actually had the gym, as much as it was a shit show.
I think that's a common thing with gym owners. Any gym I've went to that's been like independently owned, the person that owns it's never there.
Yeah, well, that's is that not the goal in business?
No, I know how it is.
So for me, I was doing that, but like then every 8 weeks, because I done like 12-week boot camp things, every 8 weeks I then was shiting myself having to resell to current customers and sell to new customers and stuff, and I didn't really have a control of like the service, because a lot of that, other than the boxing classes, a lot of it was the other PTs that were running it.
As in you're relying on the other PTs running it to keep their clients on, to keep the memberships going.
Yeah, so they could take clients, like, so there was only a few times that people could come to the classes or whatever, so they would take that and then they would pay me rent. For reduced rent, they would do 2 classes a week. So I had like 6 PTs. So a lot of the classes were covered, other than the odd one that I done. So then it got to the point where I was going on holiday all the time, and then I bought a new car, and then all of a sudden people were like thinking, oh, he's maybe making too much money or whatever.
Yeah.
So then they went and opened up across the road. Other people opened up and thought, and then probably just realised that it's hard work. It's harder than you think.
Yeah, he's reaping the rewards from taking a big fucking move when he was 22, and probably I can literally imagine, because I think a lot of people have this idea in their head, and especially like if you become a personal trainer and then you start doing all right, I think it sounds like a dream to own a gym. But now that I think it would sound like a dream to me if I was maybe 19, 20. But now like I'm approaching 27, I can see the admin involved. I can see.
To be honest, if I opened a gym now, I would kick my own ass at running a gym. Like, just because over the last 2 years, like my business like abilities of like actually how to run a business, how to run a team, have like improved so much. I feel as if like there was a lot of resentment. I actually done because I've started hiring like client success coaches, like, or taking up on client success coaches into the business. So I've got a client mindset coach and client success coach who are like OG clients, who are really kind of good, and they come on, and a part of like the presentation that I kind of show them is the fact that like you have something where you don't ask too much from people, because then if your expectations are dead up here, when there's not really like loads of like money involved, where you're actually asking them to do loads for not very much sort of thing. So it's more, I'm asking them to do this, but then if it's not working for them, I'll speak to them about it sort of thing.
And if you own the business, you always think people are going to want to do stuff as much as you, and they're just not.
They're not, and it's the exact same with the other way about with the PTs. is that I felt as if like I was going into the gym, and I was actually saying to them, like, you need to put that away, you need to do this, and it was like no one likes to get told ever. So although it was my gym, like they would always roll their eyes, and in hindsight I probably shouldn't have said it in front of like their clients and stuff, but I was that pissed off, and I was young.
Yeah.
So like, see now, like I'm now a dad, I'm married, like, so like there's like, in terms of like how I've like matured, like if I would treat people, not that I treated them bad, but I know that was probably, if I'd kept them super happy and actually spoken to them, are you enjoying this? Are you pissed off that I'm going to, like, and just being upfront with people, then I probably would have kept them longer as well. So
how do you think that conversation would have went? Are you pissed off I'm going on holiday? Yes, I'm Barbados next week.
yeah, well, I think it is just about like asking people what they need. Like a big thing that I learned.
Were you helping the PTs business wise? Like, as in, I don't mean as in like the way you've had business mentors, but would you like,
yes.
How many clients you got? Like,
yeah, yes and no. Well, like it wasn't like we're sitting down, we're doing this or whatever, but like I'd make them up graphics, and I'd do that for them, or make them up like little promos and stuff like that.
Have like a wee template that they all get, sort of thing.
Well, I'd actually just do it. I'd come down and kind of film it for them and stuff, and then like do them logos and stuff like that, and then after that I would basically give them clients, because I was you know, so like some clients stay with you for ages. I was full for ages for my one-to-ones.
Especially if you own the gym, I think a lot of people would just see you as the person they want to be PT'd by as well, wouldn't they? Like the members.
Yeah.
You're the face of the gym, aren't you?
Yeah, well, exactly. So then that's actually like, if I ever got inquiries through Facebook, which used to happen a lot more than it does now through Facebook, I barely get anything. There's like no reach at all. But then it would always be given to other coaches or whatever. So it's definitely something that like I felt as if they owed me, but because they were paying me, they felt as if I owed them. So it was like this weird relationship that you have. And I think there's definitely like a weird thing with like PTs in terms of like an ego. No one knows how much money anyone makes. It's all to do with like, right, how do you look? What results do you get with your clients? And how great can you make your Instagram look to how well you're actually doing? How well are you actually doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely something where I felt like only probably in the last few years I've started to realize that it's such a like fake industry of like people really kind of just try to show how big their dick is. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
When actually,
with everything
if you
they
just
do,
enjoyed it,
everything they do.
if you enjoyed it, you would get so much more out of it. Like I know I said probably wouldn't speak about this, and I'll not mention exactly like
Just don't go into names and but talk about
what it is. But like whenever you go get a business mentor, like they straight away tell you, right, you need to be charging this. But like whenever you go into, like, I think I started charging 15 or 20 quid an hour or something at the start, because like the confidence isn't there.
And you want experience as well. You're just happy to be coaching people.
You do it for free.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think that's what we'll go into more, but what you're touching on is like you forget the reason you started.
Yeah.
And it was to help. Well, it should be to help people.
It should be, yeah.
If it's not to help people, what the fuck are you doing?
You're in the wrong.
And if you're in it to make money, you don't realise how much you're going to have to work for that money. Like 70-hour weeks to make the money you think you're going to be making.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, talk about the business mentors. Why have you changed business mentors, and what did you pull from it as well?
So first and foremost, I'll give props because I pulled a lot from it. That's my business mentor messaging me there. But I learned
that
a
was
lot.
A flex.
I learned a lot from it in terms of like, well, a lot of self-belief as well, and a lot of it was probably fabricated as well. It's like they build you up to like you're the one of like the top 1% of coaches in the industry. It's like
that's the sales. That's the sales, but I get it every time. We reckon you're going to be one of the top 1% of coaches. I'm like, fuck off.
It's like, well, you're not. You pay $6,000 to get in, and then all of a sudden you're paying you like $1,000 a month for it. Like, so it's going to force you to implement because you're paying so much fucking money for it. So it did, but it really forced me when I shut the gym and I didn't have that income from that. So when I didn't have that income,
when did you shut the gym? COVID?
August. I shut it in March, but then basically I actually
I was forced to shut it.
I made such a mistake. Actually, like my last business mentor told me to go and do semi-private. So people were paying like £150 a month or something is what I was charging them. and instead of running the boot camp. So that was the transition. And I just signed up loads of people to that. And I was like, yep, great. So it was like recurring. I think it was like maybe 5-6 grand or something like that recurring that I'd got like in the bank. Then COVID hit, and then people didn't get that month yet. So I was like, don't worry, we'll open the gym in June, not knowing what COVID was going to bring. We'll open the gym in June in
3 weeks time,
and I'll give you the Zoom classes and stuff up until that. And rather than try to refund,
were
like
you doing the Zoom classes?
Yeah.
How were they?
Oh, horrendous. But like then try to do that. But I think, to be honest, it wasn't as horrendous at the start because it was a new thing, and like it was still kind of, no one could see each other, so it was quite good to have a bit of a community as well. So, but I couldn't have done that for any period of time. But basically from there, I end up having to refund a whole bunch of people even after doing the free Zoom classes because I shut the gym. So like, well, that £150 that we paid you. So then my back was against the wall. As much as I made some money from selling the gym equipment or whatever, like my back was against the wall because I went from having that to zero. But I knew it was the right move because I knew I needed the freedom and stuff like that as well. So then when your back's against the wall, you have to implement. So even though I was part of a business, I guess this is like any clients, just because you're part of something, you need to actually implement the stuff. I wasn't implementing the stuff because I was already kind of doing all right. There wasn't really enough pain there to need it, if you know what I mean. So then when I actually had to, then that's when you see the kind of like progression and growth over like a really, really short space of time. And that's the exact same with clients, I think, is that you need to almost fabricate an element of like, I need to do this, and if I don't do it, then there's going to be consequences as well.
So you think something bad actually needs to happen in some scenarios?
Yeah, you need to.
Clients can be like going for a breakup or something like that, and that can always be a spark, can't it?
Yeah, as long as you've got someone, I guess, that's going to like pull you up and down. So like, if you've got someone like a coach or whatever that says, like you're actually thinking too much about this, or you're going too hard at this, and you're not like, that's not where happiness actually is. Like, don't remember just because you're going to Marbella or Ibiza or whatever with the girls or with the guys, and then all of a sudden like you think that after that's you done. Like, remember, we need to actually be doing this like so that this is now integrated into your life. How
do you feel about just going through some of those like business mentor groups? Like, I've obviously, to see if you follow personal trainers, there's a lot in those groups. Like, there's a lot, and I always see a trend that people look as if they change going into those groups, and it becomes like they look like they lose themselves sometimes. Like, they might gain really good businesses, but they just look like a different person, and sometimes it looks as if they can't really have a laugh, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of it is like, you'll see. I never really like to slate. Other than that Dan Wheeler guy, never really
David Wheeler.
Is it David?
No, it's Dan.
I never really like to slate people too much, because I feel as if like, instead of like knocking buildings down, you're better building people up or giving them a perspective. And I think that's always, if you're articulate and you can say something to someone without being a dick about it, then they almost seem like, oh fuck, maybe I should like think about this in a different way. Whereas if you kind of go guns blazing at people, they're never going to take it the right way. But in terms of,
so what you're saying is, don't say I'll fucking destroy you.
Yeah. So if you've not seen that video, I'll delete it today.
It's pinned. Top one. It's what you want people to see. This is me.
But, well, to be fair, it brought. This is mental, right? So see on, the link in your bio.
Yeah.
Nearly 700 people filled in the link in my bio in 48 hours.
From that video?
From
probably ex-customers from him.
From that video. I've still to send out emails and stuff to them, but like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, that's like how because TikTok to a lot of people still is like
for 6-year-olds.
For 6-year-olds, or for people to dance. Like, I've not danced once.
I've tried so how long have you been doing TikTok? Probably for like 3 weeks?
About 3 weeks probably.
Would you, so what's the rate for coaches? And it's like 80% fail into it. I don't know about you, but do you remember your PT course?
No.
Well, I remember mine, and well, it wasn't that long ago, but I looked at, there was like maybe 20 people. There was one guy.
Do I remember the people in it, do you mean?
Yeah.
All right, I remember some of them.
There was one guy in it that knew what he was talking about, but he was a pilot. He was also heavily racist. he was the only person that would definitely knew what he was talking about. The rest of them, some of them didn't even like go to the gym.
Yeah.
and they're just like doing a PT course.
Yeah, there was a guy who was a taxi driver in mine, and he's like, yeah, I'm just going to do this.
They're just going to get it on the side.
But
you can't just get it on the side.
You don't have to be in shape to be a PT, but you need to at least know.
I'm not even going into that. These people didn't like. So see, when you had to teach someone how to do like, say, like a dumbbell press, I had to teach them how to do it before they could teach someone else because they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
As in, they didn't even know like what to do with the dumbbells, like how to pick them off the floor and get on the bench.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I feel as if like in order for, because it's like a 6-week course or something, isn't
Yeah,
it?
and
like,
it's like $1,000 as well. It's not like cheap to get on the side.
So-
it's not that cheap.
So realistically, to do it, I think you need to have had experience in the gym yourself and trained yourself.
At least
to
the
do
bare
it.
minimum.
Otherwise, you do need to kind of go down the sports science route and then go into something that way, like actually through college or uni, because you're not going to actually learn enough in that 6 weeks to then be able to effectively coach someone. Do you know what I mean? So, but you're never going to be able to effectively coach someone. I think that's the biggest issue. Like, I guess not lingering too much on the kind of business mentorship group, but when people like come in and start just wanting to charge thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds for something that they're kind of either just starting out at, or like they can't justify that because they don't get results. Like, I think it is just a case of like, obviously it's priceless to get someone a life-changing result, so you can't really put a price on it. But at the same time, there needs to be a bit of morality as well. Like, where are you actually at? A bit of self-awareness. Like, are you one of the best coaches in the country? So can you charge over £1,000 for it or whatever it is? Or are you actually just someone who's been told they're one of the best coaches in the country and they're actually not? And I think everyone does, these walking, talking videos where they're like in like the middle of the Alps and like walking towards the camera as if they're like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah. And
or in a forest or something.
but everyone was doing that, so I was like, maybe I should be doing that. But
Did you do it?
no, actually, I did a couple of them with a videographer, but I never ever put them out because I was like, that's not me, and it doesn't sound like me. So, but then when I just started being more and more, because even you said you went through my Instagram, I think probably in the last 2 years, maybe even just year.
There's a video of you lateral raising 2 decking chairs.
But I'm
That
probably,
seems like you.
well, I'm a lot more authentic now than when because I think it's a hard thing, because all of a sudden you have to have like your own TV show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it needs to be something that like people want to watch. So you almost have to fabricate some energy as well.
You also have to be borderline narcissistic to be like, you need to watch what I'm sort of doing, don't you? You have to have a little bit of it. You have to have some sort of like self-belief, whether it's fabricated or it's real. Like you have to really, because did you get slaughtered when you started as well?
Not to my face.
No.
No.
What were your family like and stuff when you started like filming videos? Because your gym promo was different when it started being about you.
Yeah.
Did you get much kickback from your mates or anything?
When I was, I think that's another thing. Like I've like basically broke up with all my mates like in Glasgow. Like I've literally like separated myself from like anyone that just takes my energy away. Like they're completely like. Actually went on a stag do, and then because I never ever really went out with them, I went on a stag do, and then all of a sudden I get removed from a WhatsApp group.
Really?
And uninvited to the wedding because I basically refused to or not refused, but I didn't go out with them when I said I would. And then all of a sudden I'm just kicked out of the friend group.
Wait, so you went to the stag do, then the next event they had?
The next event, but like...
Which was what, just the pub?
Yeah, it was something like that. And then all of a sudden it was just... all of a sudden I'm kicked from the group, and I'm like, at the end of the day, like, because these are people that I've grown up with since I was like, I don't know, maybe like P7 or P6 or something. And to do that to somebody is just mental. And I've spoken to them a lot about like mental health and all that sort of stuff. So as much as that negative was a positive for me, because it really allowed me to actually dial into who I was and like not really care about what other people think. Like for them, if it had been someone else, that might have actually driven them. And the ironic thing was that a lot of it stemmed from the fact that one of my mates, like he basically lost his brother, and he basically put on me that I wasn't giving him enough support, but I wasn't really friends with him anymore. And I didn't want to then all of a sudden, just because he's lost his brother, then I have to like bombard him with affection. And I had the business to run. So in hindsight, could I have messaged him more? Yes, but I did message him, and I think then I said to him on the stag do, I was like, listen, like I can't take responsibility for what happened to your brother. Like it's not my fault. Like I'm here if you need me, but like we aren't that close anymore. So how can you? So then that was the trigger that threw me out of the group.
Yeah, that one conversation.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I think it's really, really hard with people from school. Like I'm the exact same as you. So I moved to London. I only went there for 9 months, and I moved back. And like I don't have any of the same friends. There's maybe like 2 people that I grew up with that I still speak to that I don't see. But I found it really difficult leaving school. Like because like
I guess you're a pool of people. How many people were in your year?
In my year, loads, like 300, but like I had my group of friends that were the same as everyone, like 6 or 7 people or whatever, but they always wanted to like pull you one way, and I never wanted to do the same sort of stuff as them.
But even out of that 300, you might say that's a lot. It's not really. In the grand scheme of like everyone that you could speak to, you've got your pool of 7 people out of 300, and then expect them to be friends for life. It's not that. I guess it's never really going to work out. You might get the odd person who keeps friends for life, and they do have similar morals and values, but like you compare yourself at 17 to what age are you?
I'm 26.
26. Like so nearly 10 years like has went by, and as much as at 17 you think you're an adult, like 17, 18, then all of a sudden you're growing as a person, but maybe they're not growing as a person as much as you are, or vice versa, and then you can't expect to possibly grow together unless you're super close and you've got similar values and you've got similar things you're working towards. Like you're both engineers and you go that way or whatever. So I think because I done something so different, I then ostracized myself so much. Like
how did you deal with that? Because I've definitely found that quite difficult. Because see, when you do start, because I do feel in the UK most of your socializing, so you've got work or whatever, and socializing is always drinking drugs. Like it always is. There's very little people that are up for like maybe climbing a mountain or whatever at the weekend. There's not much else to do.
Yeah.
And even if you do want to do stuff like that, the weather's so shit here that you do end up just not doing. If you don't
like
drink
during the summer, like and then
2 months,
the winter's just.
So like when you try and make plans that aren't work related during winter, you end up just staying in. Like you do. How have you found that? If you've maybe went away from people from your friend groups in school and then going your own way, do you not find it quite lonely? Or have you found it easy to make other mates that are kind of more like you?
Yeah, well, I think like in terms of that, like mates from like the business mentorships and stuff, and
can you separate work and like socializing with them?
Like at the end of the day, I think I actually don't. I think I said off camera I was at a stag do on Saturday there, but like I don't go out that much because I feel as if like I almost have like, this is really bad, right? But I almost have like an alter ego when I drink, right? Not even joking. Like, see if you, not when I drink, but when I get to the point that I'm like steaming.
Right.
I have like an alter ego of a person.
What's his name?
Don't have a name for him. I don't know him.
Sylvester Sweeney.
But it's just the point where I don't remember anything, and then like people have told me like the stupid things I've done or said or whatever. I'm like, that wasn't me. And it's just like for me, doing like drinking to that capacity every single week was when my mental health was at its worst. So I don't actually miss like going out and doing anything like that. Like it's fine for a stag do or whatever every so often, but like I go out a handful of times a year, and it really doesn't bother me. What I would much rather do is be sitting on a beach with my wife with a glass of wine. Like I know I probably seem like a pure old man, but like I'd much rather that than and then wake up the next day. I need to wake up to a nearly 6-month-old baby now, so it's something that I guess you just kind of, I don't miss it at all, basically, is my answer to your question. Something where, yes, I think I probably had to deal with it a lot at the start because it is lonely, and then I've got that wee gym out the back that I just literally sit in for like 12 hours a day.
Is that like the log cabin thing?
Yeah, so the wee outhouse thing, so I literally just sit in that all day.
Touching back on when you moved from the gym to online, was I kind of right in saying that was like a pipe dream, the gym, and then you realised that, like, was there one point where you had like a breakdown with it whenever it was too much, or?
No, full honesty, I always knew I wouldn't have the gym forever. I always thought it would go online, but I didn't know when, I didn't know how. I just knew that like I used to follow like a lot of people on like YouTube and stuff, and I used to probably glorify
Who?
that, like Rob Lipsett and all these
Joe Delaney and stuff.
aye. And I used to kind of glorify that, and then I think after
Their online coaching is very different though.
Yeah,
they're
it's
just
complete-
you
they're not-
realise they're not even coaches.
They're not really coaches.
They're
like,
just influencers, aren't
yeah,
they?
exactly.
I mean, I like Joe Delaney and stuff, but when I first started as well, I was like, right, if you want to be an online coach, you have to do that.
well,
I was like,
that's
you
what
don't.
I thought. I thought to be an online coach, you have to have millions and thousands of followers. So then, for probably a good period of my life,
And you have to put topless pictures up non-stop.
Yeah,
I thought that's what it was.
That's what I was trying to do, is like almost get famous for like social media famous, so that then I can monetize that, if you know what I mean, and then live life on the beach. But
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that. It doesn't happen like that. And I think then only just in the last few years you start to realize that to grow a business really realistically, yes, you've got like ads and you can do this and you can do that, but realistically most of my business is actually just through referrals. So like there's a lot of like PTs doing like so much like outbound messaging where like they message like 50 or 100 people a day and all that, and it's like a numbers game. There's going to be an element of that, but like there's a lot of kind of push towards that. But see, if you get someone a result, they could actually bring on like 5 to 10 people if you actually get them a life-changing result. So I think it's just about making sure that the people that you actually have on, you get them, you do what you said you were going to do. And then once you do that, it kind of scales out. Because I can think of a handful of clients, I'm like, you've literally brought me thousands of pounds into my business because of like, yes, they've got the result, but they're so happy with it. And then they're maybe in a small town and they'll tell their dad and they'll tell and then all of a sudden I've signed up half the family.
Was there much struggle from changing from gym to online? Like when you said you went, did you go from making zero, like from making whatever the 6,000 to the reoccurring to making zero flat, like straight away?
No, because I still had one-to-one clients who basically I was actually doing some Zoom classes,
I thought
not
you were gonna say
classes.
illegal one-on-one.
No, not Zoom classes, but like Zoom sessions with them and stuff for a month or two.
I couldn't think anything worse than
And
doing
then,
that.
and then
I literally was
because
just like, I'm not
because
doing
that's
that.
what we used to from having for
Yeah.
the gym, and then eventually when I kind of took that away, I lost a few of them, and I actually signed up loads of them from the gym who trusted me. But then because I didn't really have much of a business ready to go online really, so I think if they re-signed up now, they would be surprised and shocked almost of like how much it's grown. But then like I just said, right, like, we'll do a minimum of 3 months, you can pay me monthly or whatever, let's try it out. And I lost a bunch of them after that because I just felt as if like it was just like a check-in where they'd fill out a form once a week and I'd say same again, or right, okay, do you want to jump on a call, are you struggling or whatever. Whereas it gets to a point where that's really not what people need. They need education, they need inspiration, they need like you to like paint a vision for them, and like I guess they just need someone there to actually help kind of guide them. Whereas I probably didn't even know where I was going, never mind where all my clients were going. So I
You're
think
still trying to figure out how to make it work.
Nope.
Oh, it's my phone. Yeah, you're still trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. So I think for that, it's definitely something that a lot of people, I guess, going back to the kind of first point of like not really having a direction of actually where to go was probably the biggest struggle for me. Whereas now I actually know I've got numbers that I want to try and kind of hit in terms of like amount of clients for this, amount of clients for that and stuff, so that then I can actually I can not run the business and resent the business because I'm working 70 hours, or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, and then actually in like 3 to 5 years time have a business that technically I can step away from slightly.
Is that your goal then?
Well, not necessarily like completely step away from, because I know myself, like I move on to one thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. Like, already in my head, I'm like, I've got so much stuff that I've paid for to gain knowledge of, that I was like, I could coach coaches as well, like in my head, like of how to build the systems, and I'll not feed them with bullshit of like they need to start charging $2,000 straight away, all that sort of stuff. And
By the way, I don't think you should be doing that. Like my sort of view on it is like start low, obviously, and then just keep incrementing little bits and just go up like that.
it's like gradual.
Why does it have to triple at one point?
Yeah.
Why does your prices triple? Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I think it's like the last business mentorship group that I was in, this is one of the reasons why I left, is it said we aren't in the business of coaching, we're in the business of marketing and selling coaching. And I'm like, well, who's the coach then?
That's the way I sort of viewed it as. It's
That's what you said.
it looks as if it's not anything to do with like how to become a good coach or how to actually like help people. It looks as if it's how to be a salesman.
Yeah.
As a PT, it looks as if it's a PT that has actually just became a salesman. To me, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and it's like you play. The hard part is, right, you need to have people sometimes need to realize where they're at, so you need to give them some tough love, and sometimes it's hard on the first call, but you kind of need to do that. But you need to show them that, listen, I can help you. And I remember investing in myself the first time. I shat myself basically, but whenever clients kind of come on board, that sometimes is what they need in order to push them. If they stay in their comfort zone, they're like, right, it's whatever a month, and then they can leave after a month. It's not really going to drive them. Whereas if they do an investment, they're locked in for 6 months. It's a big financial investment. Sometimes that's what people need. But at the same time, you can play in people's heartstrings so much that they end up on a call with you, and then if they don't sign up, then they just leave feeling like shite. So I think for that, like I never really morally agreed with that sort of thing. So I think it's just making sure that like you don't lose your integrity if you do become part of like a mentorship group or anything like that you don't lose your integrity.
That's difficult, by the way, because you're coming into like a cult like group,
it's an environment, isn't it?
And everyone's being pushed that way. So how do you stop yourself from getting like that? It's very, very difficult. Because I've watched loads of people go into that, like those sort of groups, and they look as if they've completely changed. Like even if I've met them and spoke to them, I'm like, you just seem as if that's all your scope of interest is just within that group, and you can't see beyond that. And you can't see any other. It's like, what do you call that again? When you just see what you want to see. Echo chamber. Well, that as well, yeah. Like, so you end up just believing fully in that group because everyone's in that group, and you get a bit indoctrinated, I think. So sometimes it is. I think it is. I think if you're going to go down it, I think it's good to get different coaches and get different perspectives. Like, definitely, and see how other people do it. Yeah,
because it was definitely like, because I was actually...
There's also no one way.
Yeah. And I think that the biggest issue I had, they made you so scared to leave because if you leave, you're not getting back in. Like, that's basically the way that they made it out. And like...
Sounds like Scientology.
So I didn't leave for ages because of that, and then I ended up joining the new mentorship group that I'm in, and then
was that a smooth process? Just been like, here I'm away with them.
No, I was doing them together.
Oh really?
For a few months, and then eventually decided to drop one because I was like, the stuff worked more for the other mentorship group when I was implementing that than it did for that. So I'm like, scrap that. And for me, I had to do them like that because I'm almost felt as if like I'm now on my own. Like, see if you leave and you don't have anything, and I think that was probably the scariest part, was leaving, knowing that, like, because don't get me wrong, there was a lot of stuff that I really learned from it that like I'm so glad for. But it gets to that point. I was in it for 2 years. It gets to that point where you're like, what really am I taking from this other than like everyone's trying, like there's people making 7 figures and all that on it, like charging.
But really, is that the goal?
No, it's definitely not.
Like that doesn't really interest me.
Like, this is where, like, I actually done a talk at one of my like live events. So it's called like the pursuit of happiness. So like, the 3 things that like me and mindset coach Kim, we went through it, and we're like, the 3 things that we feel as if you need. So like, you need to understand like what it is that you value, what it is you maybe aspire to value, and then once you can kind of understand your kind of values, then you can kind of create a vision in alignment with them, rather than think, like, I'm going to be happy when that actually doesn't align with your values. So if you were to pick a number or pick a physique and think, I'm going to be happy when that happens, but then you realize what you have to do to get there, and then you have to then like throw away a lot of your actual values, if you like. Then the second part was like, you need to set boundaries with like other people, with yourself, with like, and just understand that that's then going to help you feel mentally, because I have actually something written up on my board. So that I serve myself first, so that my family and clients get the best version of me. And it's like,
so that would be when you set up your day, you go, right, what do I need to do first? So would you put your gym session first?
I train at 6 a.m. And
6 a.m. club.
Move before you snooze.
I've seen you posting that.
And I do something. So it started off, I couldn't do that in the morning. Like, mentally, I just couldn't get myself up to do a workout. Whereas, so I started off, I could get up and go a walk. So then I started about a 10-20 minute walk, and then it turned into an hour, and then all of a sudden I did go into the gym and do that. And it's just like incrementally kind of feeding that habit in, because it wasn't in my nature to like get up and do that sort of stuff. So
What did you find? So, see, putting your, like, has there been points where you've built this, where you've went, you aren't following your own values, and you maybe are been chasing money? Have you had points like that?
Yeah, 100%. I think,
So I think a lot of coaches fall into this, and then they end up realizing they're fucking
well,
miserable.
you're around so many people, and they're like, yeah, I made 30 grand this month. I made this. I'm like, how they making that? How they making that money? And then you look at their Instagram.
I don't know about you, but see, when I have conversations like that with some people, I'm like borderline like, go away from me.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like quite happy doing what I'm doing, making all right money or whatever, and I'm happy as fuck. And then you have conversations with them, you're like,
Yeah.
leave me alone. I don't need to know how much I'm making. I don't care. Because then you feel like pressurized that you need to work twice as much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you realize, and really, it should be your happiness should come first as well.
100%. I think it takes a bit to, I guess, I'm so much more clear now that I'm away from it to then figure out what it is exactly that I want. So instead of me getting more one-to-one clients, this is why I'm kind of running the hybrid, because I know that the hybrid's going to give me a lot more freedom in my own life. And that's half the reasons why I shut the gym in the first place, because that's one of my values. And I don't have that. So that used to be a core value. It was a bit of freedom. I used to go on holiday all the time and all that. Whereas now it's an aspirational value again. So it's like,
You want to get back to that?
I want to get back to being able to like travel and do that. And I can still work at the same time. And I think it's just like, for me, it's because I have this kind of mindset of like growth. When does it stop? So you get to a point and then you're like, you look back and you're like, I've literally, I don't want to miss half my daughter's life because I'm focusing so much on kind of the business elements. So like, so what do we need as a family to like live, be happy, and have like enough for a rainy day? Then that's really what you should strive towards, rather than try to like just hit a number, a metric for no reason.
If I was to ask you a personal question, how are you doing that? Like, how are you, like, that's your goal. How are you going about that? Because I think a lot of PTs are like, I'm in the position where, see, 2 years ago, if you said to me that I could like be fully booked or whatever, one-on-one, and like not have to like scrounge for inquiries and stuff, I'd have been like, I'll be delighted if I do that. Now I get there, I look at it and go, right, where do I go next? And I'm also like, where do I get my free time? So like, you get to that point, you realize that's not the golden nugget you've been chasing. You realize,
I think it's just learning to like consistently audit what you're doing, and then so that you're not moving in the wrong direction. So like, if you end up thinking,
so if you're like full, not going, right, I'll take more on to make more money.
Yeah, instead of that, think, right, how much am I charging? Could I add money to this and people would still pay for it, and I could get some time back and not focus on kind of try to like market to new people, so you get bills to pay and all that sort of stuff. So because when you bring on more people, you end up with like more pain a lot of the time if you don't run it the right way, and you promise everyone in the world, and then if they're not communicating and stuff, and then you don't have systems in place to like realign them, if you know what I mean, then like you end up just like thinking, right, they're going to leave, this is going to happen, and you end up just in your own head the whole time. And I think I still struggle with that, because I'm dead empathetic with clients, and I think I definitely get into a point where I really want them to get the result. So like, I took one of my mates on as a client. He's probably not listening to this podcast, but he's one of my best mates. He's on, and I took him on, and I didn't charge him for it. But then he then went 2 weeks without like messaging me, and I'd messaged him.
When was this?
This was like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
And then he hadn't messaged me, and then I had to then send him a voice message. I've not responded back to him because I had to send him a voice message and be like, listen, like, I'm doing this for you. It takes up my energy when a client doesn't respond to you. Like, see if a client blanks you, I'm like, I then start to like question.
It's really, I'm going to get into that as well, actually. So what happened after you voice messaged him?
He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't want to," because he wasn't paying me. So this is another perspective, I guess. Because he wasn't paying me, then it was just a case of like, I didn't want to bother you with stuff, but not knowing that mentally, like, if a client is in the red, a part of me's in the red as well, because I really want to be known for actually getting some of the result. I genuinely do care, and I think that's why I actually have a really good retention rate with clients, and I think it's because like they think, well, he actually does care, if you know what I mean. So, and I think when people that's all people need, is someone to actually care, because half the time they don't fucking care about themselves.
Yeah. What do you find triggering as a personal trainer? Like from client wise, like if a client does something, what do you get triggered by?
Victimhood.
Right.
So like if someone plays victim the whole time, don't get me wrong, if a client comes on initially and they've just got so little self-belief, there's going to be an element of victimhood and like self-belief and stuff like that. And if you can get someone in the result who is in that state, like fantastic. But then a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, very few times, but sometimes it does happen. You get someone who've come in, victimhood, alarm bells when they already start bitching about a coach that they've had previously.
I don't think people realise that's something that personal trainers look for in inquiries. Like they've had 4 different coaches and they're bitching about like 2 of them. You're like,
yeah,
they don't realise that we are going to be like, no, we are going to be the coach for you. We are actually looking at that like, oh, no, let's leave that.
There's a wee bit of like, but at the same time, someone's had a personal trainer versus like an online coach. Like, what's your thoughts on? I know this is your podcast, but what's your thoughts on like PT versus online coach? Everyone wants to be an online coach nowadays. Like, and everyone's like, well, PT as in like in-person personal trainer versus like an online coach. I feel as if like not everyone should be doing online coaching, whereas everyone has online coaching in the bio.
I've never PT'd in person, but I'm going to. That's why I moved back home. So I had started during the first pandemic, and then I got forced to go online, and my TikTok grew way more than I thought it was going to do, because I was always just waiting for the gyms to reopen, and then I was going to go in the gym. So then they kept on doing all the lockdowns. Then I moved to London. The gym rent was far too expensive in London, so I was paying like 900 quid to rent a house, and then the gym rent was going to be like 800. So that's why I moved back. So I'm going to start within the next 2 or 3 weeks. I've had to scale back all my online clients because I can't go in person with like 35 online clients. Can't do it. So I always feel like that was like everyone pushed you as like the dream. I had loads of people when my TikTok was growing, they were like, fuck ever doing in person. But I feel like there's loads of stuff that I've missed from not doing in person.
Yeah.
And I also feel like online is this pipe dream as well. And it's a completely different job, but I also feel like it's not like what it's made out to be at all. Like you'll see people sitting on a MacBook in Dubai. I'm like, that's not the job, mate. That isn't the job. And it's really it can be really stressful, really draining as well. I find, because if you just take on loads of people at the start, obviously that's your goal. You end up with like 5 to 10 people that maybe aren't as involved because you've just tried to grow the business. And I find that can be really, really draining, and you're on your own all the time. Like you have to make money as an online coach, you have to spend more and more time on your own, I think.
Yeah.
To make the most amount of money.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it comes to a point you start to grow a team. So like, you have to grow a team, but like they all need to align with your values, and like almost, I know we spoke about the fact that no one really wants it and they don't, but I think if you're then human to them and you say, listen, we're going to do this because I feel as if you'd be a good fit for it. I basically give them like discounted coaching or whatever, and then they help build the community and things.
You're talking about people that have been clients?
Who are clients, still want to get coached. They've went through a transformation. They've had a client hot seat.
But you get them as part of your business to
so
help.
They'll now be kind of more involved in the kind of business to help grow the community and stuff like that, because community, whether people like it or not, is like the backbone to your business. Otherwise, if let's say for instance you're hungover or you're doing this or you're doing that and your energy's low, then at least then the community is there for people to kind of go and get. Whereas otherwise, you're then taking on everyone's like stresses. Like you don't choose when someone's stuck. So then like you need to have an element of both. And when most people come onto any program, they're very resistant to the community because they don't know MD. And it's so true. But that's why I've started doing like the in-person live events so people can meet each other. I'm going to do the odd thing in person, like every maybe 4 to 6 weeks or something. It's like a wee seminar and stuff. Because there is so much value to like in-person stuff in terms of like just connection. So
do you think that's helped you a lot as well? Just because, like I was saying about you're maybe isolating yourself. So not just the community helps your clients, it helps you.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like if the community is going well, because like every so often it starts to kind of die a little bit potentially, because I noticed that a few weeks ago because of like everything that was going on with like the world. And
You mean with COVID or the war?
both.
Right.
And everyone was all over the place, gas prices increasing and all that sort of stuff. And then everyone was going to be a bit more silent because no one's like thriving because everyone's worrying. And I think you need to be that person that's like almost helping them through that time. Otherwise, they'll be like, you're an expense, I need to get rid of you sort of thing. Whereas if you've got that kind of community that is like almost like a safe place and not a bunch of victims, whereas like probably a lot of people's family members and stuff like that are speaking about how bad things are, however, you don't want to hear that.
I don't think that helps you go through any of it either, do you?
No.
So you look at it, you're like the pillar to help them get through those sort of things, and like your community is. How did you build the community? Like, what would be your tips to build a community for any other personal trainers? Because it's really fucking hard. Because like me and Michael done it at the start, and we would both be in each other's community groups, and we'd be like, he'd be like, he used to do my nutting because I wouldn't be as bothered about it as him, but he would be like tagging me in all his posts. It's like, Michael, I'm not helping grow your community all my day.
Don't I guess don't expect everyone to comment on every single post. Like so, like I'll post something like on a Monday, it's like a win, a challenge, a goal.
Would you go for a Facebook?
Facebook, yeah. And then on my Monday evening, I'll have a Monday kickstart, right? But not everyone, like it's like a live check-in sort of thing, and people can stay on at the end and stuff, like, and speak to me, and I can turn the recording off.
So when you do the live check-in, do you actually like just do a check-in with each person they all kind of watch?
No, it's basically, so I create like basically a presentation every week. So there's a mindset element, a nutrition element, and a training element, and then like a thought for the week and goals for the week. So everyone sets the goal. And then the people that can't make it, basically then I take then the private podcast and put that on, and then they have to then comment, replay, so I know that they've listened to it, whatever, and they know what they're doing for the week sort of thing. There's some people who just don't engage in it, but that's fine. There's a statistic that's in the Facebook group, 90% of people won't engage. 9% will engage sometimes based on how they feel, and 1% will always engage. So the fact that I realised that in my head, I started to think, like, so I've got 70 odd people in the Facebook group, and then I'm like, why are they not all like engaging? But it's not because they're not all taking the value from it. A really good quote that I heard a few months ago was from a guy that came into one of the events, and he was talking about like Microsoft Word, and how in Microsoft Word there's like over 2,000 like things that you can do. So, but what do you use? File, save, underline, bold, italics, right? So just because you have all these fancy things, it's a good selling point. And if someone does want to take the value, fantastic. But at the same time, you don't have to have everything all singing, all dancing. And people will take what they need from it. And as long as they're getting the result, it doesn't really matter. Like, so they don't have to be listening to every single podcast. They don't have to be coming to every single live. The people that do, there's a strong correlation between the result and kind of then, because otherwise you're just burying your head in the sand a lot of the time. But then there is some clients who just go on with it and they don't actually come to the stuff. And I'm a lot more fine with that now than I probably was, because then I'm pushing. No one ever likes to get told what to do. So then I'm pushing, like, this is what you have to do sort of thing. But I think it's just seeding it in from the very, very start, from like
the first time you speak to them.
The very first time you speak to them, like tell them to be really quick to reach out for help. Tell them like that obviously they need to take the value from it as well. It's like I was speaking to another client who she was basically saying when she does like she's in the police, and when she like takes on like a trainee or whatever, she's like, I'll give you what you give me. So if you give me 50%, I'll give you 50%. If you give me 100, I'll give you 100. And I think that was a really good way to actually frame it, even in my own head when she said that. And I was like, you know, I'm going to kind of take that a bit on board, because it's so draining when you give someone so much and you get nothing back, and then they play victim. Very, very rarely do clients blame me, right? Because like it's undeniable how much stuff that I give. Like I've got a private podcast, I've got a membership lab, I get guests on, and some of the guests aren't cheap.
Don't you pay the guests?
Yeah, like some of them charge me like 300 quid for an hour.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I think people thought they were just my mates. And sometimes I've went on and like had a conversation with a client, and she was like, "Oh, I thought it was just your pals." And I was like, "No, they're actually people that come in and stuff." And not all of them. Some of them.
Sometimes you get wee Johnny or mate.
Aye. So yeah, like when you have all this stuff and then if they don't take it, that's on them. Like there's genuinely nothing more that you can do as long as you've, I guess, fulfilled your end of the bargain. Then that's all that you can do. You cannot change everyone's life if they're not ready to make the change themselves.
So have you found over the course of your career you've got less and less triggered by that?
Yeah, still do get triggered though, like, but I get it out of my system very quickly. So like, if someone messages
I'm
me
literally
something-
picking your brain, by the way, because this is stuff that I struggle with.
Oh,
as in, like, I'm actually asking you.
So then
There's
let's-
very selfish reasons. I don't give a fuck who's watching. I'm like, how do you get out of not getting triggered?
Well, I just don't respond straight away is probably the thing that I used to do.
I think I do that naturally. Yeah, I have to give myself like 2 hours before.
Yeah, and then respond. But and most of the time I respond via voice note, because if I respond via message, I think my messages are just very kind of short, or they seem short. So it can be misconstrued a certain way. So I just make sure I get my tonality across and the way that I actually feel. And I'm always just then completely upfront and honest, unless, very rarely, but unless you're arguing, like we're saying about arguing with an idiot. Like if someone is playing victim and they've been like the worst client ever, then I'll just say like best of luck. Like, and because I can't be bothered trying to, because it's actually worse having them as a client than not having them as a client. I actually had to.
There's loads of situations like that.
Yeah.
There's loads of. Do you pull people off?
Yeah.
Every now and then.
A couple of weeks ago, I sacked a client. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people that.
I never like to use the word sacked, but like it was that basically, because I was like, I can't.
And what would be the like point where you would go with that?
Well, I guess it's just like, so there's like different things. I don't want to go into in case they end up listening.
You don't have to go into that situation, but like in general.
But it's
what
like
would-
disrespect. Like, to come onto if you're coming onto the program, and especially if you're coming onto one-to-one, like, you need to have an element of respect for me and that I have a life as well. So like, if clients were like expect to message me at like Saturday at like 5 o'clock during the day, or at 7 o'clock at night, or whenever it is, and then expect me to respond straight away, they can fuck off. Because like, I think this is where I actually, because I seed it into all my clients, and I've got a training coming out with them soon, called Boundaries. And I've
got a call. Mine are quite good actually, because I've got a schedule, and I'm just like Saturday I might work till 12 p.m. and then I'm off for the rest of the weekend. They all kind of know that.
Yeah.
But you need to set that up from the start.
You need to
Because mine is all the start. It says it clearly. Like,
yeah, and
then
you're on board and
yeah.
thing. Yeah, because otherwise, like, because they also need to set boundaries. Like, I've had conversations with clients and stuff in the past, and they've said about like them speaking to certain family members or friends or whatever, and I was like, you need them in your life, or you need to at least set a boundary with them, because like they're draining you, and then they're affecting this.
Yeah.
So like, it's not even just me setting boundaries with them; it's them learning to set boundaries with other people as well.
So what would you say would be one of the reasons why, or like what would lead you to telling a client this is not working? See you later.
Trying to get me down on price because they're not using the service. Not showing up to a call that we've booked in and not really apologising. Being on their phone while I'm on a call with them, like almost like scrolling or texting someone else, fucking pisses me off. And I guess just potentially then not necessarily respecting the fact that this is more than calories and workouts. And if you actually want to change your life, it's very, very rarely is it just those things. Results wise, and if we're all robots, it is just those things. But we all have brains, we all have emotions, and there's a lot that comes into like your lifestyle, your habits, your routines, all that sort of stuff that's going to impact it past just losing a few pounds. So I think it's just clients not respecting the fact that it is a lot more than that, and I put in so much effort to that side of things. To where like Kim comes in once a month and does a whole mindset training and stuff. Now like I'm always trying, I've got the live events and I've got all that sort of stuff, so it's definitely something that if someone doesn't integrate themselves into that, like it's only a matter of time before they're going to leave.
Yeah. And would you push them towards leaving?
I wouldn't push them towards leaving if I felt as if they were still doing some stuff. But sometimes people just need realigned as well. Like I got on a call with clients and then just be like, listen, you're not using this. Do you want this?
Yeah.
And just be honest with them. And just, I think honestly, because I actually said to a client, like, so I've got the new hybrid thing, right? So obviously clients pay me more for one-to-one versus hybrid. So then a few clients, I was like, listen, you're not using the one-to-one. So do you want to go down to hybrid? And it will just be kind of, then you have to take the onus. You still listen to the podcast and all that sort of stuff. But like, it's not on me to then be messaging you.
Yeah.
Like, and you still got to work out and all that. And it's a lot less money. If you ever want to push towards something, come back up, but you need to commit to it because it's draining my energy. You're not using it. And then see, because I brought it up, they've been like, a couple of them were like, yeah, that actually sounds really good because I'm not using it. And then a couple of other ones went, do you know what? Like, you're right, but I do want to use it more because I'm not using it, but I do want to use it. And then that's actually been the trigger that's helped them.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So I think it's just knowing
about having difficult conversations. That's really having difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, sometimes you don't want to do that either.
No.
Because I find that I'll put stuff like that off. Like I've maybe got a client or whatever that I'm like, they really need to have a fucking chat with them, but I know it's going to be difficult. Mm-hmm. And it's not even that I want to keep them on. It's more like I know the chat is going to be difficult on both ends. Mm-hmm. So you put it off, don't you? Yeah.
But that's one thing. I think I live a lot happier now just telling people up front what I think. Like to their face, I'll tell them. Like, and I think
over Zoom.
over Zoom, yeah. But I think it's just like having, because actually, again, I spoke about that at the event. How like I always find that like I'm always like when I first meet someone, I'm like, what are they actually thinking like in person? But it's via Zoom. Like you have that kind of weird, like I don't know about you, but like see when you're on Zoom to a client, right, and it's like 1-to-1, you kind of check like how you, like, so like the client's maybe like there, but then the camera's here, and then you're looking at yourself to check as if like you're speaking okay.
Okay. And you're not actually watching their face at all.
So then
I find it weird. See, if you've got 10 people on it, you can never tell if they're all looking at you because they're all looking at something because everyone else's screen's different. So you're like, are they staring at me really weirdly or is it something else?
I know. I think it's like a new dynamic that we've had to now adopt. Like if there is people working from home, like that they have to like actually.
I still hate it, to be honest. I absolutely despise Zoom. I can't do, like, that's why I want to do the podcast in person. We could have done this over Zoom, but I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't think it feels natural at all.
Yeah. No, I guess, because then you still like, because actually you forget sometimes. I said that to Kirsten. I was like, I forget I've actually not met you yet until today, like physically.
And it's different, isn't it? It is different.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. I think because you've not got that.
Like I'm better looking in person also.
Very good. But I think with that, it's something where that is definitely out with my comfort zone. Only probably the fact that because my nature, my job, you don't meet a lot of kind of new people and stuff, and I think you just don't know what they're thinking. Like, and I think when you see them and you can see their body language a bit better and stuff, and you have to like look at them, it's like, what are they thinking? And like, am I the way that they thought I would be in person? And all that sort of stuff goes into your head. Do you know what I mean?
Would you overthink stuff like that?
I think about it. It doesn't cripple me or anything, but
you would think about what do they think about me in person?
Yeah, like any person that I meet, like see when I go to the mentorship like meetups and all that sort of stuff, and
I'd imagine they're intimidating.
Yeah. Like when you go to them and then you see people.
Is there egos in those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, but then you also see people like just as like normal people as well. To be fair, rather than like the people that they perceive themselves to be.
Because you just see how much money they're making and stuff, maybe on the groups
online. Not even necessarily that. Just like their persona online. It's like a persona. It's like an act. It's like James Smith spoke about this on his like now Stephen Bartlett's podcast. Did you listen to that?
Yeah.
And how like I guess like we were just talking about TikTok and how you get like 2 seconds to 5 seconds to like catch someone and keep someone's attention. So you have to be like an elevated version of yourself. Whereas
I just come across as an angrier version of myself.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, are you ever happy? And I'm like, if you talk to me, yes. On TikTok, probably not. I seem fuming all the time.
I think it's because the nature of your content, I guess, is like calling out people that are feeding bullshit, basically. So there has to be an element of passion there at least. Yeah. rather than just anger. There has to be an
Well,
element
I usually
of
am
passion.
genuinely annoyed, and then I'm also a wee bit more hyper.
Yeah.
But that's the way I have to come across. Otherwise, no one's going to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be boring. So I definitely, as a person though, I've completely changed to the point that like I've got clients who have been like I've still got clients who went to school with and they were in my class and all that. And I think I always found it dead difficult, still do find it difficult if they come on and they almost still expect to have the like 16-year-old version of myself. And then I'm talking to them about like deeper level stuff and all that sort of stuff, and they're like, "But I remember when you got steaming at the Cayley and went on stage." Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
showed your arse to the first school.
Oh, I still remember that day. That's actually true.
What, that happened? You showed your arse?
No, I didn't show my arse, but it was my birthday and I was steaming and we went to a school Cayley.
This is alter ego.
No. But like someone told me, it was like they want you up on stage because it's your birthday. So then I just got up on stage and like grabbed it. Well, I didn't grab the mic, but the guy who was on the mic was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I thought you called me up on stage." And then he's like, "No, I didn't." And it was just the most embarrassing thing. I was just get
You
straight back down.
slotted for that in school. Absolutely. So people from school come on and expect that version of you.
Yeah, I guess so. And they would if they'd probably get it if I got a night out with me. But
That's still there in you, I think, isn't it?
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely is.
Would you like that on the stag do?
The other day,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
No,
Remember
so
it.
you were.
Probably.
Definitely. I never got your opinion on so do you think most people should go online? Like, so personal training versus online?
No. I think you need to figure out what it is that you actually want to do. Like, is it the freedom thing that really, like, that's what you want? Then online is maybe a better option. But if you actually like speaking to people one-to-one and kind of going through that, like, I definitely think I thrive more online because, like, there's always, it's not really a joke, but like I done a master's degree and I kind of studied like on my kind of final year and in my master's I was kind of doing a lot of stuff with like autistic like people that have autism, and then kind of going into kind of special needs schools and stuff, and kind of dealing with that and figuring out like what kind of traits they have and that sort of thing, because it's quite a big thing in my family. It's like autism like runs in my family, and I think there's an element of me that thinks that I'm somewhat autistic. Everyone's obviously on the kind of spectrum, but there's like certain situations, certain things that I do, and the way that I think, and like how kind of dialed in I can be to something, that like I definitely think that could be like a part of, and I think that's why I deal better with online than in person, because like
Right.
I think
Do you think because online is so routine that you have to have days set out?
probably an element of that.
You have to have systems and days set out and routines, otherwise it doesn't really work, does it?
Yeah, well, I don't even think I'm necessarily like that. I think it's more to do with like, I always remember when I was doing the thing with autism, it was the fact that like, see like Thomas the Tank Engine, autistic children love trains, but they also love Thomas the Tank Engine because they can really, it's like over exaggerated smiles or faces that are go like that. So then it's a lot easier for them to interpret like what the emotion is.
Okay.
Whereas I think with me, whenever I meet someone, I'm like, what does that little raised eyebrow do? Or like, I don't quite understand the kind of intricate things of like what body language means. So automatically in my head, I think the worst. I'm like,
Right.
they're thinking this or they're thinking that. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's probably something that, like, because I remember one of my first clients, he almost didn't. He told me this because he ended up with me for like about three and a half years or something. And he basically said to me, I remember the first time I came, I was like, this guy's a fucking idiot. How does he own a gym? Because like I couldn't speak, like, and I was just, I think because he was quite a successful guy and stuff, and I was just like this wee guy. I did own a gym and stuff, but like I didn't like look like that.
Yeah.
Like facially, I still looked dead young, and like I
I've
didn't
seen
have
the
the
pictures.
confidence.
You didn't have a beard around as well, did you?
No, I looked about 12 up until about Rosie was born. I've definitely aged a lot in the last few. At the stag do, someone was like, "You had a tough paper round." I was like, "I'm because I'm 28."
Jake the kid added a few years on you.
I don't know, maybe.
Have you found that difficult? Like still running the business whilst? Well, you must have, obviously. That's
Yeah.
like the stupidest question ever.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you don't realize how much it changes your life until it does. Like, obviously, you can say you're ready or you say, but like you're never, because it's not as if you can just give, like, it's not as if you can just not work. Like I actually didn't even take a day other than when Kirsten actually gave birth away from my business.
No.
And I remember I signed a client up. Shouldn't have done it. I should have maybe just postponed when she actually started. But like a week before Kirsten was due to go into labour. And then I was just all over the place. Kirsten was in labour for 5 days. She ended up like an emergency and all that sort of stuff. So it was such a stressful time. She was going through contractions for 5 days and like trying to watch her do that. And I've had no sleep and all that. And then someone then messaged me. It's like, I don't think this is for me. And I'm like, literally, my wife's been in labour. Like, give me a fucking break. I've not messaged you because I'm like, and I think it's just even just setting that boundary from the get go. And I feel bad because I feel as if I could have helped her, but she was one of the people I signed up, and I'm like, oh, she got away because of circumstances. Then what we're saying about the community and building that, like if that had been more prevalent then like maybe she would have like wanted to kind of stay on, and it's not so reliant on my energy. And if that's low or if that's kind of limited, then like the business falls apart.
If you could give one piece of advice for someone to start like an online business, what would it be? Just even one little nugget that's helped you, or like what's been the biggest change that you've made that's helped your business?
Don't try and be someone that you're not. The biggest thing that's drained my energy through the years is trying to be someone that I'm not. So like, I actually think a lot of my clients stay with me because I'm just so honest. So like, so if I fuck up or I say something or whatever, or spell a word wrong or whatever, I'll just own it. I'll just be like, oh, I'm an idiot. Like, I'll do this, I'll do that. And, or like, if I'm, for instance, like I've got a live tonight, if I'm hungover, I'll be like, guys, I'm hungover. Like, I can't be bothered doing this or whatever. But like, I'll still like go and like give the best version of me that I can. But I think it's just having that human element to yourself really helps, because people want to deal with humans. They don't want to deal with someone who thinks they're like the top dog, and they're like, don't get me wrong, you need to be somewhat inspirational. You can't come in like every week and have like low energy, and like clients aren't going to want to deal with that. But I think it's just understanding that you need to have an element of like a human nature to you, so that almost you seem approachable as well. So that like, if you show that you're not perfect, you've not got all these things figured out, people don't feel as bad for not having their shit figured out, because they're like, well, if he's my coach and he doesn't have it all figured out, then actually I don't need to be perfect. Because I think that's why a lot of people struggle. And then like, I guess PTs, like if you try and be someone that you're not, and then you're looking at everyone else's highlight reel on Instagram and think they've all got it figured out. No one has it figured out. Like even the big dogs that make £500,000 a year and do all that, and you're comparing yourself to that, they don't have it figured out.
Like the personal trainers. Yeah,
like like the influencers and stuff like that. They have all that sort of stuff. A lot of the time, the way they run their business is a shit show. Like I remember, and it grows. So like this was no disrespect to James Smith at all, but whenever I was going to go online, I wanted to see what everyone else was doing, right? So I went and got Kirsten to sign up for his. I don't know why I got Kirsten to do it, but I don't know why. As if he would know who I was. To be fair, I have spoken to him in the DMs. But in terms of that, like I actually got her to do it, and then I went through his like app thing, and I was like, this is shit, it doesn't even work. And it, like there's so many aspects of it. There was another guy,
how long ago was that?
A few years ago. So I'm sure it's massively developed now. But I think it's just not having.
I remember him saying it's cost him like ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, so it probably works way better now, and he's invested in it. And if someone, again, as I said, like if someone came into my business when I first shut the gym, they would think it wasn't a shit show, but like it was nowhere near where it's at now. Yeah. So like it's just a natural progression. And I think try to figure out that, or try to think that you're going to have it all figured out at the start. You've got another thing coming. Just get used to.
Just do it.
Just enjoy it. I think just to learn to enjoy it. And I think I need to remind myself of that sometimes as well, when I'm maybe like, because like my expenses, my outgoings are quite a lot, and then that was putting me under so much pressure every month to be like, I need to make a certain amount, even just to like break even and stuff. And I think it's for that, it's just like don't live beyond your means either. Like don't start like I guess if you're a PT, are you talking PT or online, going fully online?
Online.
Because obviously
like switching from what, like how would you switch?
I definitely think there needs to be an element of online with personal training. So like otherwise you're just giving people sessions. So let's just say you have 20 clients and you're training all of them in person. Create a Facebook group with those 20 clients, gradually build up a few online clients, get your OG clients to engage in the group and stuff that you think would be good for it. Just gradually build that up, and then when you go online, then it's basically just a case of understanding that you probably will take a financial hit straight away, but you just need to trust the kind of long-term process of it. And it doesn't mean to say what you could do is, and this is probably what I would have done, is say you train two people and they're similar times, similar ability levels. Say I'm going to train you for half price, and or maybe just over half price, but you are going to train together and get them into like small groups, and then you've basically halved your hours then, and then you can put that towards online, but you still make the same amount of money. And then people are quite resistant because they want you one-to-one, but just have your one-to-one as a premium price and be like, that's 400 quid per hour. No, I'm only joking. But like you could have it up at like 50, 100 quid an hour or whatever if you really want to go that way, but just to deter people from doing it. Because then you're basically living like under other people's rules rather than your own. And then just have a certain amount of hours and set a boundary with yourself, right? I only want to work 15 hours on the gym floor. And then all of a sudden, when your business actually overtakes that other business, then that's time
you
to
can make the full switch. Listen, I think we'll call it a day here. Where can people find you, and what's the best? Well, I'd say the best place for you right now is TikTok, because that's grown. But where can people find you?
Instagram is probably the kind of most active place, other than I post like 3 times a day on TikTok. But I don't think you can message me on TikTok.
They need to be following each other. Yeah,
so just my name, Sylvester Sweeney PT on them both. Really need to change it, because when someone asked me the stag do, what do you do? I don't want to say I was a PT, because I think that comes with a lot of stigma.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think?
So because they think you're an idiot and you shag everyone's birds.
Yeah, that's basically what it, so I can't even remember what I said I was.
What did you say?
I think I said I'd had a few drinks, so I can't even really remember. But
I'm a consultant.
That's basically kind of what it came out with. But I guess you are, because you're not really like, you're consulting people on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's just trying to kind of come up with, there needs to be a new.
I think there's a wave of new sort of coaches coming through. I actually quite like it, where it's not the typical old personal trainer that is fucking buff and horny.
Yeah.
I think it is switching a little bit now, because you get a lot of people now that have learned how to get into fitness and have maybe came from like really overweight and stuff, or like really out of shape and have got in decent shape, and now they are helping people as well. I think that there's a new sort of wave come through, and I'm actually all for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't believe how many
a
people,
more empathetic sort of way.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I think that probably comes from their own experiences as well.
Yeah.
I think most of the time, whereas potentially the other people that maybe like have been
other
in shape
people
their
that
whole life.
the people that just literally sniff a weight when they were like 16 and already had abs and getting ridiculous shape within 2 years, and they become personal trainers. I think
not that same level of empathy.
Yeah, because they don't understand people that don't have this same genetics as them.
But it's not even. I guess it's not even that. It's like having like you can think back to your previous self, if you like, and how you
can
felt.
Think that's what half my content is, because I can relate to people that tried to lose weight or whatever, and that's why I always talk about patience and stuff, because I can relate to them, because I used to always try just
6 weeks.
Yeah, be just something to lose as much fat as possible, and I'd stand on the scale every morning, and as soon as it went up once, I'd be like, oh, I'm a fat cunt.
Yeah,
pretty much. So that's why that's half.
I think I viewed one of your videos the other week, and it was like probably half the reason why you're like you are overweight is because you're saying to yourself you're a fat cunt.
Yeah.
Or you're saying like,
because that's what I used to do. I used to start every single time. So I would always just be like, every Monday I would start, and then by Thursday I would stop, because I would like the scale maybe didn't go down, and didn't understand anything about the scale.
Yeah.
So I talk about that all the time, and I just I would always go in my head, I'm not going to be able to do it. Just because I'd already failed like 30 times, so I just felt I'm not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And then that'd be it.
I think that's why you need, like, if you have a guided hand of a coach, like they almost, as I was saying, like fabricate the belief for you, because you can't have the belief if you've never done it.
No.
So then if you have those like incremental kind of small wins, and then all of a sudden it kind of builds up, and before you know it, you've actually like I know I kind of live my life in quotes, but like if you chase a horizon, you're never going to get there, but you don't realize how far you came until you kind of look back, sort of thing. So actually seeing how much progress you make and not throwing in the towel, I think that's it. It's like not throwing in the towel and then starting again, throwing in the towel, starting again. Just
never throw the towel in, you'll be fine. I always say that as well. Like just never stop and you'll be fine. Like you might go backwards a wee bit, but you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's the quitting that fucks you. It's the quitting and then like not doing it for another 3 months. That's where you fuck it up.
Yeah, 100%.
But cool. Thank you very much for coming on, mate. I
Nice,
really appreciate it. Cheers. And we'll find you on Sylvester Sweeney. What were you
Am I
say?
the first guest?
You're the first PT, yeah. I've had 3 other people on, but they've been comedians.
All right, okay. Fair enough.
The first PT. But thank you, mate.
Right, I hope for this wasn't like boring, not funny. Because
no, it'll be good for coaches, I reckon.
Yeah, perfect.
Cheers.
Right.
Thank you, mate.